in general, for anybody who has a passion that they want to produce, do the first step. Take the first step and take the first step right now. It can be the tiniest step that you can think of, but take the first step. And then tomorrow you take the next step. Because the moment you start walking the way will reveal itself to you. But you have to start walking.
Niki J. Borger, welcome to Produce Your Passion.
Hi, Sam. Thank you for having me.
No, this is a treat. When I knew I was going to start really rolling out Produce Your Passion and doing this podcast with it in particular, you are one of the top people I thought of for somebody who
really?
produces their passions, I should say.
Oh, wow. What made you think that?
You're constantly working on stuff. Like every time I talk to you, I'll go to one of your shows or I'll see you post something. I'm like, oh, that's really cool with what you're doing with that. You're like, yeah, I'm doing that. But then I'm also working on 2 other plays and I'm writing something. And I'm like, how do you have time for any of this?
Yeah, that is a good question, right?
But I love it. You're the type of person I like to be around because it keeps me on my toes and it inspires me. It's like, okay, It's like, oh man, I even if I took like a little slack in a day and then run into you and have a conversation and you tell me everything you're doing, I'm like, all right, I gotta get back to work.
I really appreciate you saying that. Thank you.
Yeah. So I think that leads us into an intro. So for people that don't know you, who are you? What do you do?
Well, I'm Niki. I am an actor and I also have a production company and a guided meditation app. I am originally from Germany and I moved to Los Angeles about six and a half years ago now.
Awesome. And you just mentioned everything you do. So what is your Produce Your Passion, and in your case, passions, plural, story? If you could take me through every one of your passions and what you produce.
Oh, there's a bunch, right? I think it started for me about 10 years ago. I was really unhappy in college and I decided to completely change direction and not pursue political science any longer, but actually go to musical theater school. And that was the first time I had to kind of self-produce myself because I was significantly older than anybody else. And it was musical theater, this incredibly competitive in any place of the planet. But yeah, I made it through mainly by already putting up a lot of projects back then. Like I was not just doing classes. I was not just hoping to be cast. I was choreographing. I was bringing people together. I was creating projects and I was making sure that I was getting them on stage, whatever it took. And then after that, I decided to come to America, which I know it doesn't sound like it, but as an artist, that is a lot harder than it seems. And I came here and I've been kind of doing the same thing ever since, just because for me, that is my only option.
So if we could just stop right there. So where you're from, you were already at this type of pace. You were already doing this.
Did.
You were already producing like this. And I'm really glad you brought up the coming to America thing, because I have had conversations with people in LA that are from other countries. And I maybe you can unpack this a little bit. I don't know if people realize the commitment when people leave their home countries to come here. And I'll never forget talking with an acting classmate outside of class one day. And they told me, I haven't been home. I can't remember what the exact amount of years was, but they hadn't been home in years, even for holidays, because they told me they're saving money for their SAG card. So they're sacrificing going back home so they can save money for that SAG card, because they go, that's why I came here. I came here to do acting. So that I have much respect for all of you that have come to LA and this is what you came to do. There is no plan B, if you will.
There is no plan B and there's no alternatives. If you're here on a talent visa, you can legally only work in what your visa is for, which for me is acting. I can't drive as an Uber driver. I can't deliver food. I can't work as a bartender. None of that is okay for me. I can only work in acting. So there's only plan A, and plan A has to work out. I do think what a lot of Americans don't realize is really what you said, how much it actually takes to leave everything you know behind and everybody you know behind, fully knowing that they will never understand what you're actually doing or going through, and that you're putting yourself into a position where you're completely alone for a while until you've established yourself in this new place. It takes a lot of courage. It takes a lot of money. It takes a lot of skill. You have to be really good at what you're doing. Like the actual wording for that talent visa is you have to be exceptional and extraordinary at what you're doing. And you have to prove that to get a visa. So for me, my last visa application that I sent in was nearly 2,500 pages of evidence that I'm good in acting, of everything that I've done in the last 20 years of my life to obtain the right to be here and work in acting.
Did you just say 2,500 pages?
2,500 pages.
Just to have the right to be able to work out here. And that's incredible to me.
I mean, I'm sure there's people that have like, you know, smaller cases than I did, and hopefully still get approved. But that is how much it was for me. Yeah.
Wow. Like that really puts it in perspective, like how bad or how strong your desire to do this is.
Well, yeah, and the good thing is that there is a clear way, right? There are certain criteria you have to hit. You have to have awards, you have to have press, you have to have prestigious projects that you've done, you have to have international presence, you have to have future deal memos lined up. There are all these things that you need to have, which makes it accessible in a way, because there's at least, you know, there's clear criteria you have to hit, which is something I really like about America in that sense, quite honestly, because I don't think it would be that simple for Europe. I don't know exactly what the process is, but I don't think it would be that transparent in a way.
And when you before you came here, is this something you always knew you would want to do eventually when you started doing the arts and everything, or was there an exact moment where you're like, I need to go to America to do this? And then what?
Yeah, there was.
What made you take action on that? Like what was
there was
that?
a moment.
Okay.
So I was doing musical theater. I was working my butt off. Like I was living in that school from 8 a.m. or 7 a.m. till 10 p.m., 7 days a week, 3 years in a row with no breaks. We would perform injured, sick, whatever it was, right? That's just what we were doing. And then I failed my finals and I didn't graduate, and I was very upset. I went home. I decided that I really wanted to see the roots of my business, which was Broadway in New York and Hollywood in Los Angeles. And somehow I had this idea that when I come to Los Angeles and I sit under a palm tree somewhere on Santa Monica Beach, I will have an epiphany of what to do with my life from here on. And I came here, I sat under that palm tree, and I had no epiphany at all. Nothing. I was just like, what do I do now? But that evening, I went to a networking event that I still, to this day, don't know how I got invited to. No clue, because I didn't know anybody. I don't know how I ended up on an email list. No idea. But I ended up going. I met some people, and I found out about talent visas and about this process, that it actually is possible. So for the first time in my life, it clicked in my head that this is actually even an option. I didn't know that. I didn't think this was a thing people did. I don't know anybody who did this. I don't know anybody who's moved to America, let alone in arts, as an actor in Hollywood from Germany. And suddenly it was possible. And from there on, I was like, all right, if it's possible, why don't I just go ahead and try it and see what happens?
How many years ago was that?
That was in 2017. That was in September 2017. Yeah.
Wow.
And fast forward 1 year later, I was accepted. I started actually studying at New York Film Academy here in Los Angeles.
Wow.
So I spent the year in between building a business to make money back in Germany. And then I stopped all of that and came to America, did a year of school, did a year of OPT, it's called. It's a 1 year work permit you can get after you graduate from high school in America, from college in America. And I used that time, that first year and a bit, to collect more credits than what I already had from Germany. And then the pandemic hit. So, yeah.
I bet you got some good writing done during that time, though, at least, hopefully.
Yeah, I was not really writing yet at that point. I actually, I started writing, thankfully, like maybe in September, October of 2019. And I went ahead and shot a couple of those short films just because I was really upset. During my first year at New York Film Academy, I shot nearly 40 short films and then nobody submitted. Yeah, I acted in about 2 short films per week. And then nobody submitted to festivals, but I really needed festival submissions for that first talent visa. So I was really upset. I went ahead and wrote 3 scripts, shot 2 that year in November. Then I didn't get around to editing yet. I was on hold for a feature in Mexico for January and February, and then everything shut down. So then I could go ahead and edit those short films and got them into the festival run during the pandemic, which was a huge partial reason of why I got my talent visa in the first place. You didn't know any of that, huh?
No, I didn't know any of that. You think you know somebody, and then they come on the podcast, and then it all gets revealed. But no, I just really, I have so much admiration for that and respect. And it really, like, for anyone listening, like, it really, like, you think of your own situation of how lucky many of us are to be in some of the cities we are without having to have that stress and burden. But in a way, correct me if I'm wrong, it's probably pushed you and helped your art to greater heights because you've had to produce a lot. You've had no choice.
Absolutely. Yeah, you have no choice but to outgrow any limitation and anything that is holding you back. And I do think in that sense, Hollywood is a real pressure cooker. Like, you come here with your dreams and aspirations, and everything that is not in alignment, life will throw in your face instantly.
That's a great description of Hollywood. So you have your acting, your theater, and then now you have your own production company. So was this happening as you were shooting these films? You're like, you know what, I just need to have my own production company because I'm already shooting so much stuff anyway?
Yeah, it was part of the process. I mean, I came here for the impact. I love theater and musical theater. I love like the live experience, but I wanted to just reach more people. And then upon coming here, I had to realize that the projects I would want to do, I don't have access to because they're SAG projects. Didn't know that was a thing before. And the auditions only go to specific casting directors and specific agents, right? I don't even get the chance to apply for them until I've kind of like worked my way up. But at the same time, I did not want to compromise on my values and who I am. And a lot of the roles that I did have access to felt somewhat stereotypical because I am a blonde, blue-eyed woman with a German accent. I wasn't too excited to be playing a scream queen or a Nazi all the time. And so it led to me writing more and more, and at the same time moving away from those stereotypes. Like, in this process, I've come to learn that I don't like being put into a box. So I got to stop putting other people into a box. I don't think I did it very much, but they still have this, like, very much about gender, for example, right? Like, gender expectations. And all of this has gotten me to a part now where I write nearly all of my characters independent of gender, ethnicity, and sometimes even age, to get out of this boxed stereotypical thinking.
I've never talked to someone that has this story, but I guess probably other people have had to go through this exact same thing that you're talking about. Just it doesn't seem it gets talked about that much.
You mean the stereotypical thinking? I don't think it gets talked about a lot, no.
Stereotypical thinking and just having to go the path that you've gone, like how you've had to
Yeah.
go through all of this just to have an opportunity.
Well, look, realistically, out of all the internationals that I've met that have come to Los Angeles, there's only 4 or 5 left.
Really?
All the other couple of hundred or so are back home. So, because most don't hit what it takes to get this talent visa, there's other things happening. You know, life happens. And quite honestly, there was a bunch of situations where I probably would have gone home if I had had a choice. But life did not give me the choice, so I stayed.
Wow, that's incredible, and I would like to touch on. We'll get back to more acting and film and things like that, but you do something completely outside of those things with this meditation app you have. And I have to just preface this with, you know, because I'll go to your shows, or you know, whenever I catch you at one of the shows that you're at, and I can't remember what exactly day it was or when it was, but you just casually go, "Oh yeah, I got this meditation app I've been working on." I'm like, wait, what? I love meditating. Like, what is this? And then you're like, here, just check it out. I'll let you try it and everything, which again, thank you for that. And I was blown away. Like, I was like, oh my gosh, like this wasn't just like a one, here's my sample of what this could be. This was a full blown website with multiple meditations you could do, guided meditations done by yourself, produced well with music and your voice and all of this. And I'm like, how did you have the time to do that? Like that, but it was awesome. So could you tell us how that happened? Like how did that get sparked in you, and what made you like, all right, I'm gonna put this thing together?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think the journey for that started when I was doing musical theater. So 2 months into that training, my acting teacher back then told me, kind of verbatim, that he's never seen anybody with such high walls around them, that I will never be a good actor, and that I should quit the school, quit acting, and find a different profession. And I was very upset about that. I went for a walk, very long walk that day. I thought about it. Because I had a master's degree, but I hated what that was in, right? So I thought about it, and I decided to not quit acting, but to actually tear down these walls, whatever it takes, right? And I started that journey, and it took me to hypnotherapy, then to kinesiology, and eventually to energy work, which is a medium, so to say, that is not very well renowned yet, even though there's really great science supporting it. And energy work became my easiest access point to transmute anything that wasn't working for me, whether that was a limiting belief or a negative emotion or what we would call a traumatic experience or anything that I couldn't even define that I was still holding, right? And I have been doing that very consistently ever since, because as I said, LA is a pressure cooker. Everything that you're not aligned with will be in your face, and that is what happened to me very, very intensely. So I used this type of work really every day for years. And the more I talked to my friends about it, the more they were like, hey, you really have to share this. But I wanted it to be accessible, so I boiled it down to a level of precision where I can create a shift for the listener within 5 minutes. Because realistically, that is the time that you have. And I've learned that for me, it's a lot better to do these like 5-minute meditations several times throughout the day or the week than do a 1-hour meditation that gets me like super high and then I just spiral down because I can't hold it, right? And that's what led to the app.
Wow. And what was step one with that? Like, what, like once you are like, okay, I'm gonna do this. Well, like just for people, because I think a lot of times people when they get an idea, you get so overwhelmed, like, oh my god, I gotta do 100 different things. What was the
Yeah,
first thing in that with that project in particular? What was the first step you took with that to get it out
a
of your
lot.
head?
So it was a very, very, very lot of trial and error. First step was to find music I could use. Took me forever. Eventually, I realized, all right, I gotta hire somebody on Fiverr. Hired somebody on Fiverr only to find out that even though I can use his music, it's not original for me. So I hired another person on Fiverr. Then I had a mic, which was a USB mic, that I would record with. I did my first recording, and it sounded awful. So there was a whole mic journey, right? Trying to set up the mic better. I built my first sound booth. It wasn't working very well yet. Yeah, then writing the meditations. It took me at least 20, 30 attempts to even get the first one down. That would have been 5 minutes, and then I didn't like it at all. So it was probably another 20, 30 rewrites of just that meditation text until I had a format that I felt like was working and felt right for exactly 5 minutes. Then I actually recorded that first album only to find out that it still sounds crappy despite the sound booth and the USB mic and the music. And that's when Christmas break happened. I actually flew back to Germany. I talked to my brother about it. I hired somebody on Fiverr to fix those audios. They did. Still sounded awful. And so my brother actually gave me this mic and this interface that he still had from making music, right? And we tried it in his soundproof room that he has for playing the drums. And I was like, oh, okay, that's progress. So I went back and did everything again. And then built a new sound booth. And then I did it again. Yeah, lots of trial and error.
I'm smiling and I'm laughing with joy as you're telling me this, because as I'm working on even this project right here, Produce Your Passion, I'm smiling because, I've written a book with this. I've done other things. You're exactly correct. Like you'll do a version, quote unquote. You're like, oh no, that's not it. Like, or something doesn't work out the way you thought it was going to. And there's a fine line, right? There's perfection. Sometimes you have to get over perfection and just go with it. Good enough. I like to call it good enough. But yeah, there are times where like, no, I can't put that out. like I can't put that out at that quality. So for you to have that persistence to keep working through that, but I'm sure you learned so much about the project itself as you were doing it. You probably learned and discovered things like, you know what, I didn't even think about this before. And if I would have gotten that right on the first time, I wouldn't have discovered this right here. Did you have any moments like that?
Absolutely. All the time. All the time. Happens to me 5, 10 times a day right now. Like, where I'm like, okay, this is not working. And I could go down the route of really working myself up on it, and be like, oh, I really wanted this. Like, why is it not working out? This is so hard. I hate this. Why am I doing this in the first place? Right? Oh, right. But that's not helping. So what I've come to learn is whenever I hit a wall, to just let it go almost immediately. And be like, I maybe spent like 5 minutes on it. Be like, could I do this? Could I do that? Could I try that? If I can't find an answer, I let it go. I do something else. And then inspiration hits within a day or two. Like I can trust that the next day or day after, I will have an idea on how to fix it. And the idea will feel amazing. It will come supernaturally. It will make a lot more sense. It will be a lot easier, right? And then it continues to flow until I hit the next wall.
So there's power in letting go in a way, like letting it go, and then just clearing that space for the solution to present itself for you.
Absolutely. Yeah. I'm raised German, right? I am raised with, and I did musical theater, I'm raised with that warrior mindset of like pushing through whatever it takes. As long as you're still standing, you continue forward. But I don't think that is the right way to go about it. I think a wise version of myself knows exactly when I have to be in my masculine energy and charging and really working for it, and when I have to be in my feminine energy and like letting it go and attracting it. And the sweet spot is a mix in between and knowing which one it is right now.
It's interesting you bring that up. I'm reading Laws of Human Nature. I got it right here, actually.
Okay.
Laws of Human Nature by Robert Greene, and he talks, I haven't read the chapter yet, but he's talking about that masculine and feminine energy. So now side note, you've piqued my interest to really dive into that. Like to have that awareness, I guess, is what you're describing of all right, this is when I need to step into this energy. This is when I need to step over here.
Yeah, exactly. Everybody has both, right? And ideally, everybody has both in balance, right? You don't want to just have one. You want to have both in your life. And it's a matter of knowing which one should you let lead right now, right? Which one is in charge for this situation right now.
Awesome. Well, and we've already kind of started going down that road of overcoming obstacles. So as we know, when you produce your passions, there are obstacles. I like to say there's many, but three of the main ones are financial, mental, emotional. In any of your projects or passions that you've produced, can you talk about some of the biggest obstacles that you've encountered? And then the follow-up question, how did you overcome those?
Oh, yeah. I mean, there are the very obvious ones, right? Am I good enough? Do I deserve this? Do I have the right to have this? Like any limiting belief you may hold around your capacity or your right to become the person that you want to be and receive the things that you want to have. I think I've had them all. And along with that, the feelings that you have, right? Lack of self-worth, lack of self-confidence, lack of self-love, right? Behavior I used to really tear myself to pieces whenever something wouldn't work out. Right? I would always be like, oh man, I didn't work hard enough. I didn't try my best. I'm crappy. Like, I'm not good enough. I had all of this. And what I do is I use energy work and meditation specifically to shift those patterns. Now, there's a great book by Dr. Joe Dispenza. It's called Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself. He points out the science behind this, that your body gets addicted to its hormonal balance, whatever that hormonal balance looks like. Now, when you have a thought, an emotion, and a behavior, they tend to fire together because one gets fired up, it creates hormones that triggers the others, right? So a thought, an emotion, and a behavior always come in a set. And now, because your body is addicted to the hormonal level, you need to break all three at once to really create lasting change. If you only tackle one of them, it's very likely that the other two are going to pull you back into the patterns that you had before. That is why energy work and the meditations in the app are so efficient, because they switch it all at the same time. And that, for me, has become the most efficient way to work through any blocks I may encounter. And trust me, I encounter them almost on a daily basis. Like, I work and transmute patterns that aren't working, I would say at least every other day, if not every day.
I'm pausing because I'm trying to, it's a very deep topic. Like, it's very, like most people, what you just described, like if the world did what you just described, we'd probably be in a more peaceful place, to be honest with you. Because self-awareness, I mean, just to have the awareness of that, just to have the awareness, like, oh, okay, my energy's off. I need to go work with this. I don't know if could you articulate an example? Is there a way you could articulate, like, give me, like, you can make one up. Oh yeah,
absolutely.
Too. Yeah. Like,
absolutely.
You're feeling something, and yeah.
Let's break it down very simple, right? Like, let's say you get the audition for Chris Nolan's Odyssey. I know they're filming already. They decided to put in an extra role. They're casting last minute. You get the audition. You have to hand it in. in 2 hours, how would you feel right now?
I would feel excited, but extreme anxiety at the same time
Exactly.
because
Exactly.
it's Christopher Nolan. It will
Exactly.
change your
Exactly.
career. It will change your career.
So that is the thing, right? Like what you focus on is what you create, and your emotion about it is the indicator if you're on the right track. So now you said you would be excited, but you would also feel a lot of anxiety, right? Why would you feel anxious about it?
Because this is a once in a lifetime opportunity and you want to nail it. And if you don't nail it or you don't bring your best to it, you will forever regret that.
Okay, look, there's like two limiting beliefs that you just pointed out to me. Okay. The first one is it's a once in a lifetime opportunity. That is a limiting belief because you believe that you only get this one shot, which is a common Hollywood myth, right? It's a very common Hollywood myth that we only get this one chance ever, and if it's gone, then we've screwed it up. The second limiting belief that you told me is that I would regret it forever. So your pattern here would probably be that you would beat yourself up about not being good enough for it, not having worked enough for it, not having trained enough for it, not being prepared enough for it, not having put the effort into it, or anything like that. That too is a negative pattern. Neither of these feel great, right? They feel constricting and they feel very uncomfortable, right? So this is energy standing in your way. And what I would do is I would take the first pattern and I would go ahead and transmute that in a meditation. And then I would give myself a couple of days to bounce back from that. Usually this stuff is rooted in some experience, right? Now with a Hollywood myth, it may be something you picked up from someone else, right? But the second one, the regret that you would feel, that's probably rooted in past experience you've had or your parents had or somebody close to you that has put that onto you, right? So now if you were to sit with that, and even as I'm just saying this, I can see your brain work, right? You're diving into this, like, where is this coming from? It's probably a painful experience that lies behind that, right? And the way is to actually accept that as it is, wherever it's coming from, in like a meditation, right? And the moment you do, you will be able to transmute it towards something better and let it go. And you will get to a place where you may still feel a little anxious, because also excitement and anxiety are super close to each other, like emotionally. But you will be a lot more confident going into that audition. And you will be a lot more aligned with that goal of booking the part. Does that make sense?
It makes perfect sense, and I was not. I was about to go lay down on my couch for a full out session here because wow, that got deep
I'm
really
so sorry.
quick.
I'm not a therapist.
No,
I'm
yeah,
just
this is Produce Your Passion is not therapy. We must make that disclaimer. But no, that's brilliant, because I mean, that's a true skill right there that you have, to be able to have that recognition, because the mental. We were talking before we started recording. Of course, there's financial obstacles. There always is. The most successful people, you can never have enough money, right? Like, there's always people with money are looking for money, like, to start projects. It's always a thing. But the mental part and emotional, those are the two that can be very subtle, like very subtle. And that's very interesting what you said about catching those negative thought patterns right there, because that was just one quick example, but how much in our regular lives are we doing that all the time?
Yeah.
That are preventing us from becoming the most authentic, best version of ourselves.
Yeah.
And we don't even know that we're doing it.
Exactly. Right. Because like 99% of our behavior is copied from the people that influenced us the most when we were born. So in a way, it's generational curse breaking. That's how I like to call it. Right. Trying to break the patterns that maybe your parents or the people around you were not able to outgrow yet. They've done their own outgrowing, right? But you're the child. For you, it's time to get to the next level. So those are your challenges, and those are your possibilities to break them and outgrow who you are, so you can become who you're choosing to be.
I love that. Are there any other obstacles off the top of your head that you can think of, or that you've been through, whether it was for an acting project, a film project, the meditation app? I know we already talked about the finding the right sound for the meditation app and breaking through that barrier.
Yeah, I mean, like obstacles play themselves out in a gazillion ways in this industry. And don't get me wrong, I would not recommend to anybody to pursue this unless it is the only thing you can see yourself doing in your future. Like, if you have a plan B, if there's anything else cool you can go do, be a NASA astronaut or whatever, you should probably try that. Not to talk down on NASA at all. That was a bad joke. But yeah, I mean, it is a challenging industry because it's changing so much. What you learn in 1 month of what is working, even for auditions or self-tapes, let alone projects and distribution, is not working anymore 3 to 6 months later. It is very volatile. It is constantly changing. So there's obstacles popping up for me every single day, but that's part of the journey, is overcoming them, right? Very simple example is we're currently working on a one-act show for Playhouse West, and I've written a bunch of one-acts, and this morning we brought some of that in, staged, and good to go, and the director was like, why don't we rearrange these scenes? And the one act in question has a lot of Star Wars references. I wrote it with a particular pattern to it, right? And now I'm like, I am not entirely sure how to do that and still make it work. But hey, you're the director. I'm just going to accept it for now, go home and sit with it. And hopefully I'm going to have a good idea before our next rehearsal tomorrow. That's an obstacle, yeah. Things like that happen all the time.
Well, it reminds me of sometimes things aren't in our control, right? Most of the time they aren't. And
no,
we have two options. We can either complain about it or let it defeat us, or like, okay, this has happened.
Exactly.
This has happened. What do we do now? Like, what do we do now? How do we make this work?
Yeah, that's exactly it. And that is really the first part of outgrowing any limitations we may hold, right? Maybe to not look at obstacles as a bad thing in the first place, but as an opportunity for growth and more alignment.
I have to say this because you remind me of the book. Have you heard of the book, The Obstacle is the Way by Ryan Holiday?
I've heard of it. I haven't read it though.
It's really good. But yeah, like he's saying what you just said, like the obstacles aren't deterrents. No, they're showing you this is the way to go. Mm-hmm. So it's showing you, okay, that's not the way. So I'm showing you the way to go, but you don't get that unless you start doing to figure out what those are going to be. So no, I like that. I like that a lot, what you just said. And so this has been amazing. Before we get to the wrap up here, what advice would you give to people who maybe they're over in Europe right now? Maybe they want to come to America and be an actor. Maybe not even be an actor. Maybe they just want to come here to pursue their career. Or maybe someone just wants to become an actor. Or someone wants to start an app. And even if it's something outside of those things, what advice do you have for those people who have that idea, who have that fire burning inside of them, but they haven't taken action yet and they want to? What would you say to them?
Well, specifically for the internationals in Europe, I think it's essential to build your career in your home country first and to get the credits to sustain your career over here in your native language first before you tackle all the other issues that come with going here. But in general, for anybody who has a passion that they want to produce, do the first step. Take the first step and take the first step right now. It can be the tiniest step that you can think of, but take the first step. And then tomorrow you take the next step. Because the moment you start walking the way will reveal itself to you. But you have to start walking.
That right there, that's a gem. That's a gem. No, I love that. And then another follow-up to that. So what would you say to the people maybe in positions such as ourselves who are actively producing their passions, but they're stuck in the mud? They're down in the dumps. They're like, man, I don't know if I can do this anymore. Like what advice would you have to them? for them?
Yeah, the muddle, right? The muddle is the hard part.
That's the first time I've ever, that is genius. The muddle. I love that.
For the people in the muddle, I have been there. I've been through more than I thought was possible, and I'm pretty sure so have you. But there's something that keeps you going, and there are blessings in your life that keep you going, and you have to focus on that and align with that, whatever it takes. Even if you're just getting up in the morning and like counting your blessings, that you're alive, you're breathing, you have a roof over your head, you hopefully have some food in your fridge, and you have people who love you and support you and believe in you, right? Even if you just have to repeat that 20 times a day, keep going, because you would not be on this path if it wasn't for a very good reason. And deep down, you know that you got what it takes. You just have to remember it.
Brilliant. I love that. And Niki, thank you so much. We'll get to some final words here, but first of all, if people want to look up you, your work, your meditation app, where are all the places people can go online to learn more about you and what you do?
Yeah, the easiest way is to find me on Instagram, probably. I'm Niki J Borger, Niki with 1K, Niki J Borger, on pretty much anything. And yeah, the meditation app, right now it's called 5-Minute Meditations. It's only available through a webpage. So the easiest way to find that is through me as well. Shoot me a text. But there will be a new app coming soon that I will reveal the name of. It's going to be freaking awesome. Super excited.
Oh, we're not letting you get out of here too quickly though. You said you have another, it's separate of the meditation app.
It will be a new meditation app, with more of a bit of a training program behind it, where you have exercises that you have to complete, so you actually do level up your energy work and can make those shifts a lot quicker. And there's going to be like rewards, badges, a way to socialize with people, do programs with your friends. I think that's really important, something that's missing, because really you become like the 5 people you spend most time with, right? So you want those people to be evolving as quickly as you are. Otherwise it can get frustrating. So I'm building a new app that takes all of that into account.
Do we have a time frame of maybe, or is it still in the beginning stages?
Hopefully in about 3 months. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm on it.
Awesome. I love that. Well, one of my final questions was going to be, what do you have coming down the pipe? So that I even had no idea about that one. So I'm sure you got one act you're about to do, and I'm sure you have other projects, film and acting, that you're writing.
One act. I have the app. I'm doing a play this summer that I'm really excited about. We're starting work on a sitcom that we have written, and I think that's the biggest one. Yeah.
What I love, and it's been a treat to learn more about you and like your situation, because you're literally producing your passion 24/7, because you have to. Like there's no other choice.
There's no other way. Yeah. Thank you for saying that, though.
No, I recognize that. That's incredible. And again, you're a phenomenal artist, brilliant person, and I really appreciate you coming on here and talking about it. And I really encourage people to check out you if they're in LA, in your projects and acting, or where they can see your films. And also the meditation app I was very, very impressed as I was going through it and going through the different segments, if you will. Like you did a really great job with that.
Thank you so much. That really means a lot coming from you, because I also have a lot of respect for what you're doing. It's always inspiring to see your work, Sam. So thank you.
Awesome. Well, likewise, Niki. Well, we'll keep the train going. But the muddle, that's the biggest thing I've taken. That is so huge. And for those, maybe I'm stating the obvious, but you're stuck in the mud in the middle. I take it that's what that meant, right?
That is it. Yeah. You're stuck in the mud in the middle.
Just had to confirm that. Well, Niki, thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you for tuning in. To learn more, go to produceyourpassion.com.